Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. I am back with a Tech Tree Spotlight for an aircraft carrier. And a little disclaimer, this was recorded in the golden age, the 1 week where aircraft carriers were just tearing it up. So whether or not this is still applicable to the modern game, that I can't say. I would say probably lop 10% off what we do in the game here, and that's what you can expect. A little barometer for non-carrier players. I consider a good game at Tier 3 and a Tier 3 carrier to be about 50,000 damage. A good game in a Tier 5 aircraft carrier to be about 75,000 damage. And a good game in a Tier 7 aircraft carrier to be 100,000 or more damage. So just one man's personal opinion. I don't play carriers a lot. I play them about as often as I play cruisers, which is almost never. All right, we're here on Crash Zone. It is a domination match, and we are in the Royal Navy Tier 7 aircraft carrier, the Implacable. While our planes are taking off, there were two aircraft carriers built for the Royal Navy during World War II. They were derived from the design of the Illustrious class, which I don't know anything about. They were faster and carried more aircraft than the older ships. They attacked targets in Norway in 1944 and the German battleship Tirpitz. Blah, blah, blah. Looks like all the famous stuff was done by another aircraft carrier called Indefatigable. Implacable just participated in the attacks on the Japanese home islands, and Implacable ferried troops back after the war. Didn't really do anything else, not to denigrate what those guys did or didn't do. They did what they were assigned to do. Indefatigable was the more prolific of the two carriers, but Wargaming decided to go with the other one because that's the name of the ship class, which is a rule they only follow when they want to. All right, as you can see, we are coming up zeros here. I want to say, are we going to get this run off? Because I started it before my gas ran out. And I think the answer is yes. So we're going to drop, and will we have more success this time? Yes, we will start a fire on that destroyer. Although the Royal Navy aircraft carriers drop cluster bombs, and I find them a little bit easier to hunt destroyers with. That being said, still has the really oval turning circle or aiming circle, pardon me. So not really great for killing destroyers. Certainly not as easy as the Russian carriers are. All right, we switched over to torpedo bombers. My team seems very passive. I was going to move up here and try and force the action. Part of the changes made during this update to carriers was the addition of this fuel consumable. You can see we just entered the yellow zone. So when your fuel runs out, unless you're in the middle of a drop, your planes return to the carrier and you cannot complete whatever activity you were doing. So not like the olden days where these planes just ran forever. I'm probably not going to redo the older Tech Tree Spotlights for the carriers. They were just Tier 3. Just know that going forward, airplanes have fuel. And when you run out of fuel, you run out of airplane. And we're going to do that any second now. And there we are, back at the boat. We did get a couple of torpedo strikes and started a flood, so that's good for us. All right. Whether it's a lack of types of aircraft or what, I don't know. Like the American carriers have two different kinds of aircraft. The British carriers appear to have the same type of aircraft. These are very spearfish. I want to say, I believe it's Barracuda Mark II on the Tier 5, the Furious. It's the same plane. They do have some differing stats. We'll look at that real briefly in the port. We did get a cap reset on that ship there. I think it's a battleship. Not really an ideal posture for us to drop. So we're just kind of having to wing it here and put part of the circle over the ship and hope that the front part of the circle's bombs. get hits. And we do get some hits there. You can see that the drop pattern of the cluster bomb's really good leading up to that, but we really didn't do anything damage or of note. Right now we're just 11,000 damage. So basically, I think after they made the planes more fragile, lessened some of the planes' damage, I think you'd lose about 10% of what you would get from this match. Now that carriers have been balanced again. Don't know if that's the last balance, obviously, but I'm talking balance as of 6/3/24 when this video was this video wasn't recorded on 6/3/24. The audio was recorded on 6/3/24. And then after a week of everyone just losing their shit, they rebalanced the carriers, so they have a little less plane health. I can tell you, I still haven't noticed running out of aircraft in just any carrier that I've used at all. I do have to alternate types of planes, but I've never noticed running out of planes like we did in the olden days. First drop had a couple of torpedo strikes. Second drop, I think we missed. The Royal Navy's torpedoes are very slow, and I haven't played these carriers in a while, so it's taking me a little time to catch on to that. But we are going to catch on to it here eventually. Quick look at the scoreboard. We have one cap. The enemy team is on their way to capping Bravo. We have lost 2 ships. The enemy has not lost any ship. Am I going to be the ship responsible for the turnaround? Probably not. But we'll find out anyway. All right, here I was like, this is terrible. You're too close to the island. So we're just going to drop to drop. And got to make sure they hit water. They hit land, they're no good. And we do get another torpedo strike. And wheeling back around, and this is where I think your planes are the most vulnerable. After the first drop, when you're wheeling around to get your second drop in, that's when I find myself losing most of my airplanes. There is our second drop. I have high hopes for that, as I would my first child. And speaking of first, there is a first kill. I don't have any children, by the way, unless Thailand counts, and then I can't say for certain. All right. Sorry, that's an army joke there. All right, we got our first kill. We have just 21,000 damage. I know that you are astonished that this is a Tech Tree Spotlight, but business might pick up a little bit. I don't know what to tell you. All right, real quickly, let me switch over to WoW's Builds Legends. I am anticipating being shocked at the large XP and damage that the Implacable will have accrued in a very short time here. And I am not going to be disappointed, I don't think. We have 6 records submitted. And let's take a look at what they are. The damage, 220,659. And we're looking for proof to see when that was recorded. It was recorded in 2022. So that is a legit damage record from a year ago. The base XP record, somebody submitted one in the 4,000s from 4 days ago. So that one is going to be one that's during this period of mega power for the carriers. And quite frankly, I hope it is discounted from WoW's builds for that reason. All right, we are at 31,000 damage and counting, set a fire with one of our runs. And as you can see, business has picked up a little bit. We got another enemy ship destroyed. We lost a ship. They've got 2 caps. We've got 1. Our work is cut out for us here in the Implacable. Pardon me. But in the words of John Paul Jones, am I allowed to do that? We have not yet begun to fight. Am I allowed to use John Paul Jones in a British ship? Just checking. All right, we get a torpedo strike there. Wheeling around, taking a ton of AA damage. Anytime the enemy is in each other's AA bubble, you are going to lose planes that probably won't do a ton of damage. That second drop, I'm not hoping for anything, but we did get 2 torpedo strikes out of it. Just simply because he didn't turn in quick enough, or maybe mechanically couldn't turn in quick enough to get to those torpedoes before they activated. And you've got to know the drop window of your ship. I'm going to put up a Zuiho video post nerf. And the Zuiho is an extremely long torpedo arming window, and you'll see that in the video on Thursday. I promise that'll probably be the last carrier video for a while, but I just had to show um, this game for a Tech Tree Spotlight because it was a good one. And the Zuiho one I wanted to compare because I think my first video ever about a carrier was in the Zuiho. So I thought it would be a good comparison to see if the rebalancing actually works. And you can judge that on Thursday if you tune in. All right, wheeling back around. Got our first drop off, no fires, but we did get hits. And we're going for the same ship. And dropping again, anticipating his turn a little bit. And we do set another fire. Looks like most of my bombs shattered, unfortunately, but we did get the fire out of one of them. We're approaching 60,000 damage. All right, meanwhile, we've been moving a little bit to account for the enemies capturing Bravo and Charlie. And that's another tip that I would give to anybody, especially at Tier 7. You've got to monitor that mini-map religiously, and you've got to keep your ship moving. Gone are the days where you can back up to the border of the map and not move. You can't do that anymore. And I firmly believe that some of these changes will lead to more carrier hunting by enemy destroyers. Now, there weren't any destroyers in this match, great for me. But that being said, I think you are going to see a lot more carrier hunting tactics after the advent of these changes, even after they nerfed it. I think some people just aren't going to be willing to deal with it, and they're going to be totally okay with spending the first half of the match driving to the back of the enemy's map to hunt the carrier. And I would expect to see that much more often. Just one man's opinion. All right, we did get a torpedo strike here on the Odin. We got him almost perfectly lined up. His plane just went down. These two torpedoes are away. I don't even think we're going to need both of them. And that is kill number 2. We are up to 66,900 damage here in the Implacable. All right, Spearfish back off the deck. As you can see, I'm just alternating back and forth. Plenty of plane health. The planes are so healthy, I am considering removing the plane recharge mod from my mod slots of the carriers and putting in the other mods. I don't even know what they are. I've just gone on carrier recharge for so long because, or plane recharge, because in the olden days, you needed to worry about that a lot. Now, they've expanded the flights, they've expanded the flight decks and the sorties. There are just more airplanes everywhere. They recharge faster. I don't think plane recharge is a concern anymore. And I'm going to start to play some games with it removed to see if it has an effect. All right, there we set another fire using our cluster bombs. Another flight immediately back out on the water. We are churning and burning now as we get into the last part of this game, and you're gonna see these ships starting to get picked off one by one. Me, I'm picking a target and I'm staying with it, mostly because I'm picking the enemy closest to me to maximize my fuel time. All right, Richelieu, we're moving in. The Richelieu is a fast ship. You got to alter that into account when you launch your torps. My torps are away. I think the blue team just evened it up at 4. We get 2 torp strikes and a flood. I think he was trying to slow down. And I think he's coming to a stop despite the trail coming off his ship. So we're going to take that into account, that he is not going as fast. At the last minute, I'm like, yeah, let's just make sure. So he aimed it a little bit forward, but we are going to get 2 more torpedo strikes. And we are just short of 100,000 damage. Going around with the last set of airplanes, and I was kind of astonished at how much torpedo damage I was doing with this carrier. And it was a pleasant surprise, but that being said, that's not what the Royal Navy planes are all about. Another 2 torpedo strikes and another flood. I think it can be safe to say that the Richelieu is just a gimme at this point. And unfortunately for me, I think somebody else is going to get the kill. Never mind. We got the kill. Kill number 3, 109,000 and plus damage and counting. All right, just cruisers left. Certainly a tougher target. We are starting to take damage from this cruiser right here who crept on me. That's why I said you got to always be moving your ship. The Plymouth, we're going to force the Plymouth to turn. And I was exhorting my teammates to shoot the Plymouth. He goes bow in. We are moving. Can we get behind the island in time to avoid being killed by the Plymouth? Well, he's shooting armor piercing. Thankfully, we do have some hull armor, so he is not being very successful with knocking us out yet. But he has whittled us down, and I am in danger of dying. We're going to get our drop off. He's going to drive into the drop. We do get some hits. We're up to 113,000. But I think my luck is about to run out right before I make this last drop. Moving in. Entering the flat cloud. Oh, and time runs out. Time runs out. All right. It is a victory for the blue team. We ended up with 113,215 total damage, 17 torpedo strikes, 33 bomb hits, 3 big kills, 5 fires, and 1 cap defended flag. So I'd knock 10% off that, maybe 15% in terms of your damage. Over 300,000 silver, over 3,500 ship XP, over 5,300 ship XP, 5,600 commander XP in the Implacable. We finished 4th, 2331 base XP, 3 big kills, a good game to the Cleveland. Actually, top 4 all had good games. You don't need kills to be an effective player, folks. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that match. Good game to the Plymouth, who's going for 4 kills and failed. The enemy Implacable really didn't get it done, in my opinion. Just one man's opinion. He could have put out a little bit more effort there for his team. All right, here in the port, Flight Control Mod 1. Probably going to remove that next time and swap it out. AA Guns Mod 2. Concealment System Mod 1. And AA Guns Mod 3. And the Implacable is fully upgraded. Taking a look at the loadout, unlimited auto damage control parties, and 4 auto fighter planes. We got a permanent Type 3 camo and the Legends Veteran 4 years flag. All right, 52,200 hit points and a 16% torpedo damage reduction with our build. Both planes are the Ferry Spearfish. The dive bombers have 2,797 hit points. The bombs do max 5,880 damage with a 37% fire chance. The torpedo bombers have 2,912 hit points. They just drop 1 torpedo that does 6,230 max damage. Very slow at 35 knots. So remember, this is pre-nerf. So you're going to lower that plane hit points and probably lessen the damage that's being done by the ordnance there. All right, artillery, 8 twin 114 millimeter secondary guns, 4.5 kilometer firing range, 5 second. Pardon me, reload. HE shells, 1,700 max damage. I think the fire percentage was 5%. Lot of secondaries here, or AA here. Your 40 millimeter Bofors is your best AA, 201 damage per second. Your dual purpose secondaries are your farthest reaching AA, but they don't do a lot of damage. 32 knots in the water, 950 meter turning circle, 13.5 rudder shift time, 11.9 concealment on the surface, 8.2 from the air, and that is due to the base trait of your commander. All right, taking a look at stats. That is our best game damage-wise. And kill-wise, maybe max XP-wise. You can see we got a 1.0 kill-death ratio, average damage in a game, 54k. Which is why I say I think 100k, if you're not a carrier player, is a pretty good game at tier 7. All right, here in the armor viewer, due to probably being adapted from a cruiser, maybe at some point, or part of the design perhaps being adapted from a cruiser. You've got that upwater citadel, more heavily armored, torpedo protection way under the water. Casemate armor, again, I don't think this is doing a whole lot here. So if you're trying to kill the Implacable, aim under and behind the island, and that should get you into the Meta's ship. The deck has armoring, but it's kind of right over the citadel. It's heavier, and then as you get farther away from the middle of the deck, it lessens off. All right, Dennis Boyd, the commander, base trait decreases the air detectability, which you need. We've got Swirsky and King as our inspirations. Row 1, no fly zone. Row 2, one-way ticket. Row 3, out of sight. Row 4, burn baby burn. And the legendary skill is a unique skill called the Vault. And that's how we run the Implacable, folks. Love to hear your comments. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I will see you on the next video.